Yo,
Yo, what's up?
how's it going, dude?
Good, man. Good. How you feeling?
Oh, dude, bro. It's been. I mean, I'm not gonna complain. These are all first world problems, but with this win, it's comes a lot of different things, man. Are we live right now?
Yes, we are live.
Okay, I
We are
guess I can
live on YouTube.
on the
Thanks,
YouTube.
Todd. Thanks for joining us.
We got a couple people in here, huh?
Yeah, looks like we got one person in here.
Hey, we got one.
Yes, we got one. That's,
We
that's all
got.
it takes.
That's all it takes, man. We just need one.
You just
Just need
gotta warm
one.
up to it. It's just
Yeah.
like a tournament, you just gotta catch your first one, then cool the nerves, and
Yeah.
etc.
Oh,
You know how
totally,
that
man.
is.
Yeah, dude.
So, I just want to welcome everybody for the first episode of Double Digit Fishing. Our very first guest is Matty Wong today, and AKA Bass Nation TNT champ. We already know how you feel right now, but is there anything else like that you can express of how you feel right now besides the stress that comes with being a champ in TNT?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mean to kick it off in that manner, but I mean, I'm still elated. I'm still just so happy, and it's crazy. Like it's definitely like sunken in, like
Yeah.
for sure. Just because, just I mean, overall overwhelming support. Everyone reaching out to me and talking with and having meetings with sponsors and everything. So it's just like the feeling is joyous, but with it comes now this logistical beast that I'm trying to like pick at now.
Mhm.
And this is something I haven't really talked to about with anyone else, like in all the podcasts that I've done recently, is like, yeah, man, like, so I got back last week Sunday. Monday was the first day, the 8th, that I got back. I woke up at 6 a.m. and I've been like literally at my desk since then. I've had one day
Yeah.
out on the water to pre-fish for a TOC coming in this weekend.
Mhm.
And because I promised my buddy, like, win or not win, I was still going to do the ABA TOC with him because we fished the whole season
Yeah.
together. But I've literally, and I've been here, and it's been hard work, man. It's been a lot of hard work. Like I've like run away, like make a ramen real fast, like, or like make a meal real quick, and then just like run back here and like straight on the computer. Whether it's researching for like the upcoming events, elite events, researching Hartwell, researching brands, how to talk to brands, how to align with certain brands, how to, like if a brand's right and fits you, like there's just so many facets now when it comes to like trying to gain financial backing because, dude, this next season is going to cost me over $100,000
Oh,
just
easily.
just to do the season, when it
Right,
comes to
right.
logistic, like just overhead, like just what the budget's going to cost for like food, gas on the boat, gas on the truck, staying, all
Right.
this other stuff. And so just trying to like, piece that together, like little piece by piece to get these things like in a place where I feel good about it moving forward. It's been a lot of work, but I've been super, super grateful because I have like a lot of awesome people in my corner.
Mhm.
And like one of my friends from the Bass Club, he's a financial advisor for, really well-known musicians and a couple
Okay.
celebrities. And he's been helping me like basically like pro bono,
Right.
kind of build this package together, which it's been a lot of work. So I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say it's been easy, bro. It's been brutal,
All
but
right.
like, but in a good way, man. Like I'm like, dude, I'm an elite series professional
Oh yeah,
now.
dude. That's crazy. That's crazy. And you're gonna be competing against Michael Iaconelli now, right? Because he's back.
Yeah, I actually just talked to Mike 2 days ago for like an hour.
Man,
He
that's
called me up.
exciting.
Oh, it was so sick. I told him like, dude, you're literally like
Man,
one of my childhood heroes, bro. Like the fact that I get
I
to
know.
talk to
Like,
you.
yeah.
So it
That's
was really
awesome.
cool.
That's inspiring for sure.
Yeah.
So did your TNT championship kind of like raise your eyebrows of like, oh, this is how much it's going to cost? Like, can you give an exact number or like an estimate of how much it costs to travel to the TNT for
Oh,
hotel or stay, gas,
just do that.
etc.?
So the cool thing with Bass Nation is if you do the Bass Nation
Mhm.
route through your dues throughout the qualifiers throughout the year, they take a certain percentage of that, and that goes towards the winners of the regionals that go to the nationals. So
Okay.
they gave me gas money. They gave me like I think it was like $1,000 in gas, which basically covered my gas for the most part. Bass Nation
Mhm.
also covers your stay at the nationals, which is cool. So
Oh,
all the
that's
days of the
awesome.
competition and like I think 2 of the days of practice, they cover a hotel room. They give
Yeah.
they fill. There's literally a giant fuel tank at the yard, and they fill your boat up every day. And
Oh, wow, that's
yeah, it's
cool.
pretty rad. And if anything goes wrong with your boat, there's a huge like pit crew basically there to like take care of your stuff. And it's funny because I was
Right.
talking with Nick on Casting Crank, and that like this
Mhm.
guy came up and he's like, "Man, I hope nothing happens to you this week." And he's like, "Cause I got nothing for your boat, man." He's like, "My boat's so my engine's so old." He's like, "Dude, I can tell you
Yeah.
like, what the nut size is for your prop, but like I have nothing for you." I was like, "Well, tell me the nut size because I don't even have a nut for my, like for my wrench." And he's like, "It's an inch and 16th." I'm like, "Thanks, dude." So like had to go out. So I was able to put
How much?
my back.
So, what did you fish out of? What vessel did you fish out of?
I fished out of my old Ranger, so the OG boat.
Is it? Do you mind sharing of like how much it costs, like your vessel back then when you purchased it,
Yeah, well,
like
I
how you
got it.
first got
So
started?
I don't know how familiar you are with the story of me getting it from my uncle who passed,
Mm.
um, and I bought it from his wife. So I got a kind of a good deal on it, and this obviously before the like boat market kind of like went crazy, but at the time, I think I paid like 5 grand or something for it, and
Wow.
I've put in probably more than that, like up to
Yeah.
now, like just repairs, and I threw an Ultrex on it, and then you're by like an annual or every other year you do like impeller and all that stuff. But
Okay.
then I've also had like a couple things go up with it where I'm like, oh man, you got to shell out like another $1,200 or whatnot. Like before I left, I spent $400 on the trailer just to make sure everything was cherry on the trailer. I didn't want to have to worry
Right.
about like a hub or something blowing out or like a budding berry not being like budding berry a bearing buddy be like all cherry. So I had them put on everything, take care of all that stuff. I had someone do a full service on my motor just to make sure it was good. And so yeah, just going into the Bass Nation event to like circle back, I mean realistically I was probably like $1,200, like in the hole, just to
12,
like
12
just
or 12 to 2,000 around there.
probably like yeah around there realistically when it comes to
Yeah.
like tackle and stuff that I bought.
Yeah.
Luckily
Mhm.
one of my buddies from the club like took an inventory of stuff that he's like, here, so you don't have to buy it because you'll never throw a black and blue chatterbait in California again. I'm like, you know
Yeah.
and so I'm like, dude, that saves me because I'm
Yeah.
not gonna, so I got a whole bunch of like a list of things, and he's like, if you lose it, just pay me back and whatnot. And so I literally, dude, the bag that I got from him, I didn't even open it the entire time
No
I was there.
way.
I didn't throw a chatterbait there. I threw it, but I didn't get bit. So like that went back in the bag.
Yeah.
I threw a Senko, didn't get bit, went back in the bag. Yeah, it was wild, dude. But
Did you
yeah,
stop by Cattle Lake? I think you stopped by Cattle Lake,
I
didn't you?
did, I did, and
Yeah.
it didn't dawn on me that that was the lake that you were fishing at until
Yeah.
after the fact, which was
Yeah.
pretty funny because I was like, "Oh wait, this is the spot Dominic was fishing at." like,
Yeah.
like it's just like oh, like way after the fact. Like I was already back on the road driving. I was like, "Oh, dude, well, I think you texted me or something." But
Yeah.
it was pretty funny because I was like, "Dang, dude, yeah, I got on like a killer spinnerbait bite there." And so I filmed the whole thing.
Yeah.
That will go up. This coming Monday is going to be the beginning of my road trip. So just kind
Okay.
of like a vlog of just the travel. I have like 2 fish catches on it just to be relative in the fishing, but everything else
Right.
is just like the struggles of travel. Um, and yeah, and then it goes right into Cato. Oh no, it goes into Telawanda, which I do a breakdown on how I attack a new body of water during the fall, during a frontal weather system, and
Right.
I'm gonna do a small one on Kato, that might roll right into the practice videos because my practice videos are gonna be pretty short because it was like that pretty uneventful.
Oh,
Um,
really? How
yeah.
did your practice go?
Um, if the practice was a direct correlation with what the outcome was, I would have not believed it. Like I would,
Oh,
it's just
really?
complete. Yeah, my practice it was good in the sense that I was able to eliminate a lot of water and kind of figure out what
Right.
my plan was. So it was good in a sense where I was able to like devise a plan. But when it came to actually like sticking good fish, like my stuck at 3.5. Like my biggest fish in practice was like a 2.25, but I was also
Right. Okay.
shaking off a lot of fish too.
Oh,
And
okay.
then on all the spinner baits, I covered up all the hooks on all the spinner baits. So when I did get smoked by a good one on the blade, like I wasn't able to really see it. And then my buddy Nathan, stuck a good one on the blade. And after he stuck it, I was like, dude, you're done. You're cut off, bro. I went back there. I'm just like put a put a tube on his spinner bait, and then from then on, like he was restricted to shaking fish. It was pretty
Yeah, I
funny.
just saw that. I saw your vlog with one of your pros. What's his name? The Asian guy with the spy bait.
Oh yeah,
And you
Yumi.
got yeah,
Yumi, dude, he's
and
such a
you were sticking fish behind him. You're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, dude.
I'm
Oh, I'm
sorry, Yumi.
sorry." The whole time.
He's like, dude, it's fine. There's a lot of fish here, and I'm like, it's the desert, bud. I guess there's a lot of fish. He's like, trust me, there's a
Yeah.
lot of fish here, and I'm like, okay. Dude, that was such a cool experience, man. Because I've known Yumi for a couple years now, and we've never really got to fish together. We've just been like a big support group for each other. And the fact that like he's like, yo, you fishing meat? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, dude, let's go. I'm like, all right, sick. And
That's
so
awesome. Didn't he
yeah, I
give
got to.
didn't he give like a trolling motor out to one of his friends?
Dude, he
I think
gave his
he
whole old boat away.
Oh my gosh.
Like a whole boat,
That
dude.
guy.
Not just a trolling motor, like a boat with like an Ultrex with lithiums, like a full Lund, gave it to his friend
Wow.
and gave his old truck to his roommate. Like just the utmost, like so hard to explain because he's someone who is unattached from material wealth to the
Mhm.
point where he wants to be able to help out any one of his friends that are in need. So when he pulled out all these spy baits, he's like, here. And I'm like, dude, no, man. He's like, take it. And I'm like, I don't want it. He's like, you're going to take it. And I'm like, not going to take it. And it was like a fight.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah, but
okay.
then ultimately you took the spy bait and you did pretty well during the tournament, right? With the
Yeah,
spy bait.
both days I did great on it until I lost it.
Yeah, I saw that. You're like, oh no. But
Yeah.
you happened to you cashed a check for that tournament as well. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. My first US Open, so that was cool. And if anyone hasn't done the Open yet, it's a pretty fun experience and like a huge learning experience because you have the chance to like draw a pro, and the fact that I drew two is wild, and it was a complete crapshoot. I've gotten on the bad side of those draws before, and it sucks, but at
Yeah.
the same time, when you do luck out and you get someone good, dude, you learn so much. And even from like the crappy draws, you still learn. Um,
All right.
but oh yeah, we have comments in the side. I didn't see that. Todd Bell.
Yeah.
Big game fishing. What's up, guys?
Let me turn
Yak
on the chat
local.
overlay.
Thank you guys, and big game fishing. Thank you guys. Thank you. Who's
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah? Who else do we have in here? Is anyone still tuned in?
We have 4 people tuned in. I don't know how to figure out who's tuned in. This is my first time, my first rodeo.
Yeah, that's all good, dude.
But okay, so I had a couple questions lined
Yeah,
up for us, or for
yeah, go
you
for it.
actually.
Yeah,
So I just wanted to get down to the nitty gritty, and you inspired me, and I'm sure you inspired a lot of anglers from California that the dream is like really possible. Can you break down like your personal journey from like your first biggest move, whether it's like getting your first $5,000 bass boat, to winning the Bass Nation Championship and making the Elite Series Pro in the Classic, like that's huge. That's it, you know?
Yeah, it's like literally it's funny because I think it all starts with the addiction, right? I think we're all here, and everyone who's like tuned into this, and myself and yourself included, we're completely addicted to bass fishing. Like fishing in general, like I'm an addict to anything fishing, but there's something about bass fishing, and there's something about tournament bass fishing that's really fun and alluring, because it's this game, this forever changing game where you have certain constants that stay the same, but there's so many different changing variables, and if you're not able to make those adjustments, then you get left behind. And it's also another game where you can be at the very, very top and have the best feeling in the world, and then get shut down and feel like you're at the very bottom. And I think that it's so unique in that facet. And also, with that being said too, it's the coolest little community, because anyone who's like really into fishing, when someone asks like, "Oh, I like fishing," and I'm like, "Oh, you fish?" And they're like, "Yeah, I love fishing." And I'm like, "Great. Really?" And they're like, "Yeah, I got like an ugly stick, and like I like to fish a bobber." And I'm like, "Oh, cool, man. Yeah, that's good. Keep fishing, dude. Awesome." But like when someone's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you fish? Oh yeah, you fish too? No, do you fish?" I'm like, yeah. And then it's like instant, like like when you meet someone who's just as passionate in it, it's infectious, and then you become like lifelong friends. Oh, thank you, Arnold. Thank you, Arnold. Appreciate it, buddy. So I'm going to start it there. I'm going to start it with saying that yes, it is. The first part of it is once you realize your problem, it's like double A, right? It's like Alcohol's Anonymous. It's like Fishing Anonymous.
Yeah.
Like once you realize what the problem is, and the problem is bass fishing, and you need more of it, like okay, that's the first thing. You're stuck in your soul, no matter what. So
yeah, for sure.
that's the first thing. You have to have the dedication. The second thing is just time on the water. So like the way that you're doing it right now is with a kayak. Like, dude, any floating device is time on the water. Whether it's a stand-up paddleboard, whether it's a kayak, whether it's a tin boat, a bass boat, and everyone has these different levels of entry. Dude, when I was a teenager, I bought my first boat, was an aluminum boat, and it was I had a 6 horsepower Evinrude on it, and I didn't have nothing built out. I didn't have like a carpeted deck or anything like that. When I was way younger, my dad had it was a 10-foot John boat with a carpeted deck and a trolling motor. But then when I was like a teenager and got my driver's license, I was mobbing around with this little like aluminum boat. It was a 14-foot game fisher, and I would like take it 2 miles out at sea and try and catch mahi mahi off the thing. Like I was doing dumb stuff with it. And like we go, like me and my buddy Jesse, we like catch a wave, like with like a full boat of tackle and everything. I'm just like, I look back on it, I'm just like, oh my gosh, how careless. But at the same time, this stuff you do when you're a teenager. But like that, just having that time on the water, like, for me, just it was not only a fun sport or a hobby, but it was an outlet. And it was an outlet of creativity, and also an outlet of just getting away and from like everything, because you can like kind of be suspended in this nature, and just in a suspended world of being able to be out in your thoughts and be out in nature, which is like something so special, because in the world that we live in now, everything is like in your face constantly, especially with the phone and internet and everything like that. So I would say from there, just get out in the water as much as you possibly can, get everything you can. When you make an investment into a boat, make sure that you don't go into debt over it. All it takes is something that floats, man. And
exactly.
That's all it is.
You don't even have to get out there. I mean, a boat would be awesome, or a kayak would be awesome, but I mean, starting at the bank, you could just do so much too.
Serious, dude. Anyone who knows Kenneth Hahn, I spent years at Kenneth Hahn Park when I was living in Los Angeles. Like, if I were to go to Kenneth Hahn now, I'd probably. I mean, there's a lot of people that like don't fish the Hahn anymore. I haven't fished it in over a year, but like I would know everyone. Be like, oh hey Matty, what's up, dude? Oh hey, like anything today? No, nothing today. You know, it's just Kenneth
Yeah,
Hahn. It was the pond that you get skunked at, but then when you stick one, like during like the trout stock, dude, I caught an 8 pounder back to back days. It was the same 8 pounder
that's
too.
what?
And yeah, it was, I noticed that there was a certain marking on it, and I weighed it the day before. It ate a trout because it had a trout plant, and I caught it again on the exact same cast. It's set up on the exact same little area.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I caught that same bass again, and so whenever anyone says like, "Oh, big fish don't eat again," like after you catch them a day later, I'm like, "No, dude, they're professional killers, bro." Like you're
Yeah,
forgetting that a bass's job is to kill shit, and like that's all they
yeah,
do. That's
right.
all they do. And so yeah, so I learned a lot about all of that at Kenneth Hahn, and so just putting time on the water, and then for me, like once I felt adequate at my casting presentations and confidence in different baits, and I would say diversifying the fisheries you get to fish is the most important and valuable thing you can do as an angler. So the fact that you like went back east and got to fish in Louisiana like is huge. You know,
Right.
like the fact that like if you go and fish like Pudding Stone and then you go fish Piru and then go fish Paris, like Castaic, you know, then go up to the Delta, go fish like Orville, go fish Shasta, go fish like all these different lakes, whether it's a highland reservoir, whether it's like a smaller compoundment, like dirty water, clean water, all that stuff, and then fish it throughout the entire year. You develop this whole just like growth of information in your head, like an encyclopedia, if you will, that you can like reference to wherever you are. Dude, like I was on the river and I was thinking, I was like, oh, dude, this is like a perfect setup, like Lake Wilson back home in Hawaii. Or I was thinking, like, oh, this kind of looks like when I was on the James River in Missouri. Oh, I know they're going to be on the logs. Sure enough, they're on the logs. And so, um, yeah, it's definitely a dream come true. Are you still there? You look like you're frozen. Hello, hello. Uh-oh. Did we lose you? See the timer's still going. Can anyone say anything in the chat to say that if we're still on or not? Let's see. Let's see if I can add to this chat. Oh, looks like I'm the only one here. Restream. Can you guys still hear me? Drop a comment if you can. Still working for me. Okay, cool. So I guess I'll answer your things while Dominic's trying to get back in, or if he's able to. Yeah, I started fishing salt. Did I start in the salt in Hawaii? Yes. So I did start. Actually, I started freshwater initially, which is weird. But my dad wasn't really a big waterman. Like I love surfing, I love free diving and all that stuff, and I've always been like really into it. But when it comes to where I initially started my whole thing was at Lake Wilson, fishing for tilapia and then fishing for peacock bass and largemouth bass. And then the older I got, some of my friends that I surfed contest with, they were super into saltwater fishing. And if you know what a giant trevally is, I got really into ulua fishing. We call them ulua in Hawaii, and it's crazy, man. It's like such a fun thing, and it's a lot of work, and there's a lot of nights. It's kind of like big bait fishing, where there's just you don't get a lot of opportunities, but when you do, it's usually like extremely exhilarating. Um, oh wow, that's kind of that's a pretty interesting. It's a pretty interesting screen name. Okay, I want to catch a GT. Yeah, dude, they're so fun, man. Yeah, I have over, I think I have close to 10 now. My biggest one being 50 pounds. And I caught that one at like 2 in the morning, and that was wild. Um, but yeah, it's it's a super fun. He's back.
Hey, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Good, he's back, guys.
Internet. I knew it fell on me. What is
Santa.
this? I gotta
Yeah,
get
see,
one of
yeah,
these.
you got naked HD XYZ up in here and throwing some stuff
I
around.
gotta, I
Might
gotta
have to do
block him.
some housekeeping. Avita Zane,
Block.
block. You've been blocked. Oh, wet girls are here. Wow. It's like probably some dude who's like just like just like just like think of a Jabba the Hutt, just like wet girls.
Okay, I'm just gonna turn it off for now. But let me see. Where did we leave off? So we left off at like the important thing of like going to different bodies of water, whether it's
Mhm,
clear or muddy,
mhm,
and that being an advantage. So can you go
mhm.
on with
Yeah, I'll
like
dive
your
further.
journey?
So with that, I would say spending time like once you nail down technique, right? Like it's you now call it something that you have confidence with. So
Hmm.
whether it's uh, a fluke, a senko, a spinnerbait, a chatterbait, flipping a jig, or anything like that. And once you feel like you've caught enough fish on it, you're like, oh, I'm confident in that. Like every time I pick it up, I'm gonna fish it thoroughly and know that I have a legit chance of catching something because you know what it feels like. I'd say that was a huge help for me. Is like when I was learning how to fish lipless, that's all I would have on the deck. I would just fish a lipless and all the
Right.
different ways you can fish a lipless. Same thing with a chatterbait, different weights of a chatterbait. How do you fish a chatterbait? Trailers, all those different things playing a thing. Same thing with spinner baits. And so when you get to really, really dial in every single technique, yeah, there's a lot
Right.
of techniques that I can get a lot better at. And where I continue to learn, and I will continuously learn. And especially it's cool because now I'll be able to learn from like some of the best in the world of like just certain things, certain nuances. Um, but I think that's a huge thing too, is having confidence in all your different facets of the game. So it's just like a golfer when you pick up like a 3 wood or something, you want to have the same amount of confidence with that than you do with your putter, or the same thing with like a pitching wedge to like your driver. And so when you have all of your different pieces or your tools and you're confident with all of them, then that it really helps when you start to step into the tournament game. And so for me, I wanted to make sure all of that stuff, all those tools in my toolbox felt sharp enough that when I were to go and compete for the first time, that I wasn't just gonna like, here's my entry fee, I'm ready to learn, you know? So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what
Exactly.
I wanted to do first before I started competing. So that's why it took me forever to start competing, and that's why I didn't start competing until 2018, really. Like I fished one event. It was like a rattle trap open, I think in 2017, and I think that
Hmm.
was like my very first tournament ever, and that was on the Delta, and I ended up getting I was 14th place, and they paid down to 10, and there was like 87 anglers, and I was like,
Oh.
wait, what? Like, really? Like,
Yeah.
this is my first tournament ever
Yeah.
against like Delta
Yeah.
studs. And I was like, dang, all right, cool.
Yeah.
And that was that was a huge boost of confidence. And so when I brought my boat down to LA and started fishing Castaic all the time, and when I found the Ventura County Bass Club, like, and I was able to fish one of their local derbs, like I was already sold on the whole thing, and I felt like I had what it took to win. And my first club event, I won, and that felt
Nice.
really good. Another like confidence booster from guys that have been like, dude, I've been fishing Castaic since the '90s. It's like I moved here 2013, and I've been on Castaic since like 2016 was the first time I fished it.
Yeah.
Um, with all of the different exposures to different bodies of water, you learn the the nuances and the personalities of each species. And I think that's something that's really important. Like what makes a spot tick, what makes a smallie tick, what makes a largemouth tick, what kind of weather shuts all those different species off, or what kind of weather shuts all or turns all those ones on. And then
Mhm.
also what's the bait doing, and that's such a huge thing, and a lot of people forget about, is that the importance of knowing the forage in the fishery that you're fishing. Like, like some kid, like, and it's cool because like a lot of kids will like send me messages and be like, "Hey, dude, I'm gonna throw a HUD, here," and I'm like, "Cool, like, good for you." One, two, like, you need to, but why? And I asked them, like, "Why are you gonna go fish a HUD there?" Well, because that's where like giants live. And I'm like, yeah, giants do live there, but like, why are you gonna fish a HUD there right now? Like, was there a
Mhm.
trout stock? Like, what was there? No, I just think that's what you got to do. It's like, you got to understand, like, why there's certain, like, at Kenneth Hahn, I didn't start throwing a HUD until I knew that there was like 2 or 3 trout plants. Because yeah, the first trout plant, the bass are, they'll turn on, they'll start snacking on trout, and yeah, sometimes you'll get the dumb ones on, like when I got the 8, it was actually on the day of a plant, but that was the second plant. It usually took at least one whole cycle for the bass to feed up on trout to be like, oh dude, the trout are back again, like game on. Because otherwise, I think it was just like a number of fish that were just feeding on trout because they just remembered. They're like, oh yeah, trout, boom, gone. And then you start, and everyone's throwing their HUDs and everything around. They're not
Yeah.
really tuned in on that one bait. Same thing with like when it comes to like crayfish or crawfish, whatever you want to call them. And then also like their spawning patterns and what they do throughout the year. So that like
Yeah.
when it's a full moon, that craws are going to be out moving around, like they're spawning, during that time. And they're not like, they don't just spawn once and then they're done. I watched the thing with like it was I think it was something off of the internet. I think it was either Tactical Bassin or it was like Informative Fisherman or something like that. And it was years ago, and he's talking about like crayfish spawn twice. They spawn when the water temp gets 54 degrees, and then they spawn again when it turns 65. And it's like, no, they don't. Like after talking to multiple biologists, they're like, dude, no, crayfish will spawn throughout a year, like a lot.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, and it's not, they don't just,
Crazy.
yeah, there's a major spawn where they have like a majority of them will spawn, but also if the
Yeah.
temperature is right and the moon phase is right, they're going to spawn. And so
Right.
understanding like the behaviors of those things, and also understanding like what shad feed off of, plankton, understanding like um, algae blooms, understanding what feeds plankton, understands what pushes like shad spawns around, what shad will actually key in on when it comes time to spawn, and then their whole life cycle, and then when bass actually start keying in on those small shad, how do you adapt and start fishing all that stuff? Like when Kistake gets super rough, dude, you can be fishing. You're like, oh, 8-pound test, I'm gonna get bit, and you don't get bit. You have to drop down to 6. You have to drop down to 5 pound, and if you don't, you're not gonna get bit. Yeah, you'll get fish, and I'm not gonna say that's the great thing about fishing. It's like there's never all like one rule. There's the rule
Right.
book is meant to be broken, but I'm
Right.
saying generally that place is difficult, and anyone who fishes Kistake knows that it's a hard place during certain times of the year. During August, it gets super rough because they're keying in on microbait.
Yeah.
But so, okay, that tangent's done. But I'm going in. So now, like,
I totally get what you mean, though. Like, there's
yeah,
certain times where you just don't want to throw the HUD because you'll get bit more on bait imitation lures.
yeah,
Like, why throw a HUD when you have like a 1% chance of hooking a fish when they're so keyed on threadfin or
yeah,
any kind of small shad, silver sides, or
yeah,
etc.
yeah,
It's kind of like you're shooting yourself in the foot. You're throwing this big 8-inch bait, but then all the bass are keyed in, specific bait,
yeah,
etc.
on a specific size at least. But
Exactly.
it's a tool. I understand that there's some guys that are like big baits only, like that's like their thing, and
Right.
it's like, it's a club. I get it.
Yeah.
But I also, I learned it, and I'm still learning it. I've caught some good fish on it. I but I see it as a tool more than anything. Yeah, I'll stick a
Mhm.
good one on a swim bait. Stoked. Cool. If anyone wants to give me a props on, like, that's cool, but I'm just as stoked if I
Yeah.
stick the same size fish on a crank than I will a swim bait. But it's
Right.
just funny on like the fishing world gives accolades to like people that catch them on swimmers, because I'm like,
Yeah.
That's cool, bro. I caught like 15 fish today and a swim bait fish, and you threw a swim bait all day and caught one fish. You know, it's
Yeah,
like
exactly.
it's
Yeah.
it's a time and place kind of a deal. But yeah, like I don't know. I've always wanted to compete in bass fishing, and so the first step when I actually got the boat, I was like, oh my gosh, I actually can put in time. Because when I was a little kid, I wanted to have my own bass boat. It's always been a dream of
Mhm.
mine. Um, and so start small. I guess if it's any type of advice, is like start small and it doesn't matter, just as long as as long as it runs, as long as you have running live wells and you have a trolling motor, like that's all that matters. And none of those things like will impede you learning and putting time on the water, because it's literally a platform that moves. And as long as you're able to float and be out there in nature and understand fish and put in repetitions and thousands of casts, you're just going to get more and more experience with it, to the point where when you do have opportunities to come and fish like bigger stuff, like you jump in, start fishing the Bass Nation. And so if you don't have a boat and you want to fish Bass Nation as a non-boater, you can fish it as a non-boater. And the amount of stuff that you learn as a non-boater is huge too. And the cool thing now, like the whole kayak derb thing is huge. Like that thing is blowing up in the past. Because like when I bought my boat 2015, dude, there was like maybe one kayak tournament or something like that, but you didn't really even
Mhm.
hear about it. It wasn't a thing, and then it completely blew up. Um, and it's super rad. Honestly, like I wish that it was around sooner, because if I would have seen that, I'd be like, dang, dude, that's just great, because that gives everyone access. Like that no longer says like, yo, like you can't, like if you don't have a space to put a boat and a truck, like you can't be a part of the club kind of thing. It's like, no, dude, like I got a floating plastic rig that can get out and get into skinny water. Fish won't detect me, and I can rope them. It's
Yeah.
that's all that matters. And the fact that you can compete now against other really good anglers on a kayak and cash a check is so sick. And I don't like I'm not one of those dudes on a boat that look down on anything like that, because it's like, man, you're out there on the water doing the same thing, whether you're on a boat or a kayak. You're just out there enjoying the sport. And
Yeah.
like I was free diving off of a kayak in Hawaii, and I would fish off of a kayak. I would Whenever I go to, when I was in Ohio, fishing in Ohio, like one of the neighbors like, oh, I got a kayak. And I'm like, bring it on. The thing floats, right? Like, let's go. Like
Yeah.
that's all that matters. And so
Yeah.
it's really cool to be able to, have that, not no longer like a big separation, but like to be able to step up and fish as a boater at like the Bass Nation thing on that level. And fish against all those guys in the state. Like they're really good, and you learn a lot. And I definitely got my butt kicked a whole bunch by them. But they always, going to Havasu and fishing, that was like a huge experience for me, because I had only been to Havasu. That was my fourth trip ever to Havasu. And so like guys like Roy Hawk and a couple other people like made the state team for Arizona, that are just guys that have won boats on Havasu. And so like obviously like, in my head, I'm like, crap, man, these guys have like years of experience. But the thing is, you have to remember, yeah, they have years of experience on that body of water. They may know certain spots that fish will like genuinely be at. But
Yeah.
when you know too much about a lake too, that can also hurt you, because then you're going to want to run history. So, excuse me.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
so yeah, that was a trip. So when I figured out a deal in practice, and then when I ended up leading day one, it was like that was like, holy smokes. Like I was like, I'm probably sitting top 10. Like I felt like, I felt good. They're like, dude, yeah, top bag right now is like, I think it was 16 pounds. And I was like, oh, I got 18. And like, that's when
Nice.
I was tripping out. I was tripping. And yeah, I caught a couple of them on the glide bait. So that was fun. But
What? You caught some on a glide bait over was it Wichita River?
no, not on Ouachita.
Um,
That was at Havasu. I caught him on a glide
oh,
bait.
at Havasu. Were they any
Um,
big ones on the glide bait?
yeah, 4.5 pounder.
Damn.
Yeah, I got a 4 and a
Which
4.5.
one? Which glide bait? You don't want to give the secret out, or you want to?
Oh, dude, I don't care. I ain't fishing house for a while. No, it's an eye slide.
Eye slide.
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah,
made by who? Who's it made by?
it's a the Mega Bass eye slide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mega Bass. Yeah. I remember in one of my vlogs, I was like, please sponsor me, Mega Bass. All your baits work. I think it was the Dark Sleeper that just got me intrigued of all their
Yeah,
baits.
dark sleepers, man, I have love and hate with those things, but that's a
I
different
lost a
talk.
lot of fish on them.
Yeah, you lose a lot of fish on them. You have to
Yeah.
like a little hack is you actually snip off
I
the
did
guard.
that.
Yeah,
I did that.
it helps. It
Yeah.
helps out a lot. When you're
Hey,
able to.
welcome, Big Mac. By the way, we'll answer questions probably in 7 minutes or so.
Okay.
Definitely in 7 minutes. But yeah, that led me to a different question that I had.
Mhm.
So, like, take me through the final day, and what was your game plan? Did you execute your game plan the day of or the night before? And then, what key conditions did you make to seal the deal? And did you know that you won already, and you figured it out, and you're just like you're kind of like a Takahiro Amori? You're just like, I knew
I know
it,
it. I know it.
crankbait, crankbait,
Yeah.
5-pounder.
It's crazy because so I guess to go back to the final day after I figured out the deal on day 1, and I didn't figure it out until 1:30. Like it
Oh
was
damn!
it was 1:30 in the afternoon. I had 2 fish in the boat. I had caught a couple shorts on the crank, but it wasn't like enough where it was like, oh yeah, this is what I need to be doing. I just knew I had to change up what I was doing, which was throwing a spinnerbait and flipping a jig. I was like, I'm not getting bit doing this. I'm starting to do the repetition thing, which never is good. Whenever you get into the point of where you're just like just going through the motions and you're not actively
Yeah.
thinking, like and a lot of I think a lot of people can like relate to this. It's like you do this, sometimes like as an angler where you're like, well, I got bit on this, yesterday, so I'm gonna just keep working this thing down this stretch, and then I'm gonna go back around and
Right.
work it back down the stretch because I should get bit here. Versus like, wait, why aren't they biting it? What do I need to change? Is it a color thing? Is it a weight thing? Is it a depth thing? Like, what's going on? Do I have to change up this whole presentation? Do I have to change locations? And so in my head, once I figured out that they were gonna smoke that square bill, I was like, okay, now I know it's going to be. I knew I had to cover water, and I knew I wanted to stay on the main river because a majority of the big fish live off the main river. That's like the breathing heart of any like river system is the main river. Yes, you have fall backwater stuff that will play, but also backwaters dry up. I learned that at Clear Lake. You can fish a backwater, smoke them day 1, but day 2 you go back in there. Those fish, because of how skinny the water is, will feel that kind of pressure and realize they're like, no, dude, we're out. Either 1, they'll be out, or 2, just you caught all the big fish, and or they're or they've pushed out because of the pressure.
Right.
So
Right.
a lot of what I've experienced with backwater fishing is that, yeah, you can smoke them day 1. Day 2, you might get a little bit, but you better have like 3 or 4 different backwaters to run to that you're confident in, because that kind of stuff will dry out. And so I knew that if I was able to base, and this goes for lakes too, if you're able to base your pattern off of a main lake deal or a main river deal, that is a way more sustainable pattern throughout a multiple days tournament, because the fact that they'll reload, and
Right.
not only because they'll reload the day after, they'll reload in the same day. Like, just
Oh yeah.
because you go down and you stack a 4 off of this one tree, you're like, okay, sweet, got that fish on the day, like we're good. Like,
Right.
no, dude, like give that place like an hour, come back in an hour, whack it again. Like, big
Right.
fish are so territorial that these key ambush zones, they're gonna want to like hunk down like the king of the hill. And it was interesting. Someone was talking about peacock bass in the Amazon, and how when they'll throw the big chopper out, they'll watch a peacock come out of an ambush zone, hit the lure, and if they miss the lure, rocket straight back to where they were positioned for the ambush
Oh wow.
in fear. that they're going to get pushed out by a bigger fish. And that's what happens there. They'll get bumped out. Like a smaller one will be like set up. A bigger one will just literally bump them out. Be like, get out of here. This is my zone. And so when the big ones come out, they'll miss a lure. They'll rock it right back because they're going to hold down that like prime feeding zone. Same thing happens on lakes and rivers, man. Same thing happens with largemouth. I found that like they're so territorial that especially like and this is another fun thing. So from Big Mac in Arizona, it's dude in desert lakes. Oh my gosh, that's such a huge thing to understand. Is like, dude, there's resident fish there. That if you're fishing a tournament, my best advice for anyone fishing a tournament in a desert like environment is do not stick those fish. Yeah, maybe check one or two to just see, but like if you see a big one and you stick her, she's not going to be there again. She's out. She's just associated that rock or that point with just getting stuck, so she's gone. But let's say like during the Havasu event, dude, I found a 4-pounder in practice. I found exactly what time she was going to eat. I marked it. I went back to her during the tournament day and I told my co, hey bud, I'm going to come in here, take a couple casts, keep your vest on. It's going to be quick. It's either she's going to be here or she's not. Sure enough, it took me 2 casts, stuck that 4.5, I was out. And it hit, she ate right in the time that I had a feeling that she was going to eat. And that's the things, you can pattern fish like that, you know, just like humans, they're so predictable in the sense where if your weather patterns stay consistent and whatnot, those fish are so predictable, dude. You're like, oh, dude, you're set up there. Like, you're not going anywhere. It's pre-spawn. Oh, you're definitely not going anywhere. And I found an 8-pound largemouth during that event too. That fish stayed there for a week. I checked in on that fish every single day for a week, and she would follow my glide every single day, and I couldn't get her to eat.
Did you get her to eat on the day of?
Yeah, I couldn't.
The tournament?
I kept going back during the tournament, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, please eat it!" And she wouldn't eat it. And you get 3 casts on it, and then after that, you change up your position on the boat. You get another couple casts with like a different bait, and then but no, she would just sink out. And then I would go back the next day, and then she would come out and check it out again. It was just one of those things where that bass was intrigued, and then the last day of the tournament, she wasn't there. She had moved off, or she might have got caught or something like that. But
got caught, yeah.
But yeah,
that happens a lot actually. I mean, you'll take a cast with a spinner bait, she'll nose up to it, and then your boat, you just drift your boat, take a different angle, throw like a wake bait, and they'll hit the wake bait like all of a sudden, like 2 minutes later.
Yeah,
3 minutes later.
Yeah. As long as you don't stick them, dude, it's good. As long as they don't feel a hook tip, you can get those fish to go. And that's another thing. Like a great point is like follow-up baits, man, are huge.
For sure.
But I don't know.
Let's answer some of these questions.
For sure.
Actually, no, wait. We didn't even really finish that.
Yeah, like,
went off on a tangent, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, your game plan and key condition, and then.
Oh yeah.
So you had it figured out day one. You figured it out day one that open water was the deal. Not like
open water, more so main river.
Main river.
Main river was the deal, and then also that they were really keyed in on wood things. You know, we went from 80-degree weather during practice to 40 degrees raining and windy on day one. So yeah, the water temp was still in the 60s, which was good. So it allowed those fish to kind of still stay in like a really like hungry feeding zone. And so when I figured out, okay, so the next day I'm like, I'm going to start closer because we're going to have potential release fish from day one. So I didn't make a run longer than a quarter mile away from the ramp. I put down within the first half an hour, I had 3 fish. And so that was my goal because I had only had 2 fish at 1:30 at day one. And so I just wanted to have that release of pressure off my shoulders to fish more freely if I had 3 fish before 10:30. So that was my goal for day two. Day two ended up getting those 3 fish. I had the rest of the day to kind of like figure it out. Got lucky with a nice like 3.5 pounder during later on in the day at around 12:31 that really solidified my spot in the final. And then the final day, I knew that again there was going to be more release fish. Instead of running north, I wanted to run south, but when I ran south, I was only going to run south just quick. I wasn't going to like make a long, like 10-minute run, 20, 30-minute run. I was going to literally make less than a 5-minute run. It was like literally, I think it was probably like a 3-minute run. Just right down the way, turn around this perfect little bank. I just wanted to hit really quick and then just go right back up north and hit the rest of the stuff that I had kind of found. And sure enough, like I think it was my 4th cast in the morning. I stuck at 3.5. And so
Nice.
that was like, okay, like sweet. This is good. Here we go. This is a good start. And then I just knew
Did
that.
you fish these? Sorry to interrupt. Did you fish
No,
these waters during practice, or did you
I saw
find them
that.
during the tournament day?
I saw that stretch in practice. I didn't fish it. I just saw it. And so a lot of these places that I stopped and fished, I saw and I made mental notes, and I didn't like fish during practice. So I went through a good amount of new water all days of the tournament. So
Okay.
like
I think that's would you say that's one of your biggest strategies or biggest tactics for this tournament?
Yeah, well, as soon as I realized what kind of stuff they were on,
Mm-hmm.
or certain stretches that we were getting, I would get like a couple bites off a certain stretch. I knew that stretch was going to reload. I would hit that stretch again or multiple times. Like there was a certain stretch I hit like 3 times in a day. And every single time I would pass it, I'd stop in, hit it, a couple different angles, and then out. And then, go hit a couple other new stretches, whatever, come back to that one stretch, hit it again,
What kind of wood was it? Was it cypress trees or were
Yeah.
they laydowns?
Yeah, all cypress and a couple other different types of trees that were, half of them were submerged, some of them were fully submerged. Dude, it's wild, man. You're there. There's like a mile long stretch of trees, perfect laydowns in the water. Just like you like look at it, you're like, oh my spinnerbait heaven. You go through the whole thing, dude. You'll catch like one rat spot, and you're like, what the hell? Like, how is there not like giants living in this whole stretch? And it's because when you have too much cover, that's a bad thing. And so I was able to eliminate a lot of those sections of water during practice. So I didn't spend that time during tournament day going through that. And I watched a few dudes during tournament day going down those stretches because, again, it just looks good. It looks appealing to your eye, but you're just doing that just on the base of like, oh, if bass read books, the bass should be here versus off.
Right.
Like, where did you get bit? What were the clues that those fish gave you? And then how do you replicate that? And so for me, they were always near bends in the river, and it was on a bend or it was on like, or nearest deeper water too. So if I were to able to like come off the big motor and I start idling into the cove or to the curve, and it still said 20 foot, 20 foot, 20 foot, and then boom, binked up to like 5. I was like, whoo, okay, here we go. And so those were like the zones that I was looking for. Is like you want to find deep water access, and I think this is like a pattern that runs true throughout the entire year. This isn't just like a summer or a winter deal where people think like, oh, well, that's just like a winter deal, or like, it's no, dude, it's big fish deal. Big fish are going to want to relate to deep water year round, regardless. Yeah, during the spawn, they're going to be in the backs of coves and whatnot. But if you fish Castaic, you also know that those big 10-pounders will spawn on the vert walls.
Oh, wow.
Like Butch talks about it. I've seen it. Like the giants, they're not going to spawn in the back of like red clay and like those other ones because the amount of pressure that they get or whatnot. They're going to want to spawn on the really, really steep stuff because it's just, they know that they can just sink right back down and they'll be in 40 feet and they're chilling. Let's say it warms up, boom, they can come right back up, lay their eggs, and then boom, they're right back down. And so it's like a whole year round thing of, if you can find deep water on good structure that always has a good amount of current, whether that's actually like drawn current from a dam or something like that, or wind current, those are just all huge factors. So when I figured out it was the square bill deal on the last day, I knew that it was going to be there was going to be more reload fish. My goal was to get 3 in the boat before 10:30, again, just to ease my mind. And so when I caught my third fish, I caught a second fish, which was a squeaker. It was just a line burner. I was able to get it in the boat. And then the third fish was another 3.5 that I had. It was off the same stretch that my caught that 3.5 in practice, that I was like, damn it, dude, why'd you do that? And then covered his hook up. I hit that stretch five times throughout the tournament, like the whole tournament, and I never got a single bite. And I roll in there because I knew that someone was going to beat me there on the final day. There was a guy from Arizona wanted to fish it because we both ran into each other on day one there.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, do you
Yeah.
mind if I go and like fish up?" And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, I'll fish towards you. You fish towards me. We're good." And so, like, you know, we worked it out. And sure enough, final day, he stopped in there first. I went and did something different. And when I rolled in there at 10 o'clock, stuck that 3.5 pounder. And so that's when I was like, okay, I reached my goal. I got 3 fish, but I got like 3 fish for like almost 8 pounds, and it's 10:30. Like, this is really good. And I'm like, okay, I just need to stay moving, because that's just was the name of the game. As soon as you get locked in, you start staying in one place, dude, you're like a sitting duck. Unless it's like a massive like grass flat or something like that, but there's no grass there really to be fishing. So yeah,
when not Clear Lake over during fall, you know, Clear Lake, if you find some grass over in the fall, there's like 30 fish loaded up in that grass patty or something like that.
Exactly.
You can stay there a little bit.
Yeah, and you can stay there and just work on them. But it's, you know, it's different because it's a river system with cypress, and there's like literally zero grass.
What were you gonna say, Matty?
No, I was gonna say, I think the last part of the question was, did you think you had it, or did you know it? I knew it.
Did you know it? Yeah.
I caught my last 3 pounder. It was a 3.5 or something like that, and I got it in the boat. And it's fun because I get to share this with you guys pretty soon. It'll be out in about maybe a few weeks, actually. I get that fish in my hands, and I look to the camera and I say, like, dude, I think I have a shot at this thing. And but I also, being a tournament angler, with my little bit of experience that I have now with tournaments, I also realize, like, do not get your hopes up ever. Always shoot for a win and shoot to like do your best, but never ever think that you have anything in the bag, because as soon as you have that feeling, and when someone comes up from behind you and nabs the win from you, it is the worst feeling possible. So it's, for me, the tip is to keep that expectation in check. And so in my head, I was like, I'm probably going to the Classic. I'm like, I didn't want to entertain the idea of me winning it. And to be honest, I didn't even know, like, they announced how much you won and what you won. I didn't even want to think about any of that because I didn't want to like spin myself out. So I wasn't thinking about the prize money. I wasn't thinking about the boat, the elites. Like, I was just thinking about, I want to make it to the Classic. That's my goal. If I can make it to the Classic, that's awesome. And, you know, if I'll probably top 3 with this bag, knowing that I had about 11 pounds. And I caught that other little guy that kind of pulled out the line burner. I was like, okay, well, I know I have at least 11, which is consistent. And I remember that was my goal. If I can catch 10 pounds a day, I'll be sitting good at this tournament. And was able to, you know, beat that goal. And so when they told me, you know, when I actually got up on stage and they were saying like, you know what happens when you win this thing, right? And I'm just like, dude, don't even. I was like, but it's not done yet. Like, I didn't win it yet, so don't even talk about it, you know. And like, you know, would you fish the Elite Series? And that's something that it's been such a pipe dream for me. Obviously, you know, like, if like the shot to like fish against the best guys in the world and travel around and fish for a living, like, bro, are you kidding me? That's literally been my lifelong dream. Like, to have my own fishing show and to fish professionally has been 2 of my lifelong dreams since I was a child. And I have, like, my mom would tell me, like, you were like 8 years old talking about like you want, like, you know, having your own fishing show and whatnot. And just the fact that, like, after winning this deal and I signed the contracts for the elites yesterday and gave my first deposit, I was like, holy smokes, like, dude, this is like real, you know? So
hell yeah, dude.
Woo! It's possible, boys. It's possible.
Let's go.
You know, anyone, we can all do it. We can all do it. It's so possible. If like,
did you make history? Like being the first Hawaiian, Californian guy.
I think in some way, shape, or form, I believe I did.
Yeah.
I think Jay Ellis was actually born on Oahu, but he didn't grow up there. So Jay Ellis was born on Oahu or somewhere in Hawaii, but then he moved away when he was a kid. You know what I mean? So it's like, you don't really so I'm claiming born and raised in Hawaii and then moved away, you know? So I'm the first born
Yeah.
and raised in Hawaii to ever make it to the Classic. And I'm sure Jay Ellis wouldn't even be like, he wouldn't like give me rubs for that because he doesn't associate, or he doesn't I should say, like uh he doesn't see himself as what's the word I'm looking for? He doesn't see himself as that. Like I'm not Hawaiian per se because I'm not Polynesian. I
Mhm,
don't have Polynesian blood, but
mhm.
I have the
Yeah.
pride of being from Hawaii, and that is like that is my home. So that's something
Yeah.
that like I that resonates with me, and so I'm excited. I get to go home like right after Thanksgiving. I'm visiting my brother who just moved to Washington, but I go home and visit my parents, and I visit all my friends back home in Hawaii. And I have friends that are like newscasters and stuff back home. So they're like, dude, we're getting you on the show. And so I'm going to go and do
Yeah.
some of the morning shows and whatnot back home in
Awesome.
Hawaii. So yeah, it's crazy, man. Dude, like if you work hard and you just have dedication to something, it's you never know. And that's what it is. It's just you never know. Like if I would have told like it's and visualize and be positive, because the worst thing that you can do is self-doubt. And especially in this sport, the worst thing that you can possibly do that will instantly like kill all your shots is having self-doubt.
Right.
And so don't doubt yourself and be positive. Be like, you know what? These are my goals. Envision them, write them down. I wrote down on my I have a dry erase board, and if you guys don't use dry erase boards, I mean, this is the way my brain works, but I like to visualize things.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I have a dry erase board that's a calendar, and I have another one that's just a blank, just to, when I'm prepping for tournaments, I can write down lure ideas or just like certain things to keep in mind. But during on the calendar where it says National Championship Louisiana, I drew a giant win over all those dates, just a big win that went across it. And
Mhm.
even though it sounded absolutely crazy to me, because I'm like, I'm fishing against the top 54 dudes in the world, like in the Bass Nation. Like guys from South Africa qualified for it, guys from like Japan, Korea, like everywhere. I'm like, but you know
Yeah.
what? As long as you're fishing it, you have a chance. Same thing at the
Oh
Classic,
yeah.
bro. Like there's only 54 dudes playing. Like I could win the thing. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
if your line's in the water, you have a chance. And that's the great thing at the end of the day. Fish don't see color, they don't see sex, they don't see age. They don't
Right.
it's if you're out there and think it's your time and everything lines up, bro, it's your time. And so I
Right.
think that's like another cool and inspiring thing about the sport of fishing in itself. It's just like it's the ultimate equalizer in a way.
Right. I get that for sure. It's a fair play game. You don't
Yep.
have to be 6'10". You don't have to be LeBron or anybody like that,
No,
or Steph
no.
Curry. You know.
Yeah, I wanted to
All
be a
right.
pro
So,
surfer, but yeah, it didn't work out.
hey, you still have some time. I mean, you went from being a lighting director to a professional fishing angler for the Elite Series and
Yep,
Classic. What
yep.
else did you accomplish as a career?
I
Is it
I
those
was
two?
professional saxophonist for some years.
Yeah,
I was
for
also an
20 years,
actor.
right?
Yeah, well, I've been
Yep.
playing the sax for about that long. But and then yeah, I used to act for a bit too, but I'm glad that
SAG, SAG actor.
SAG
Which,
AFTRA,
yeah, dude, like
bro.
that's a big deal. Being
Union, dude.
SAG
I'm a
actor.
union guy.
Yeah.
No, it's dude, it sucks. Like I have to pay like $250 just to like still keep it. I'm just like I don't give a whatever. It's funny though, but anyone's chasing those
Yeah.
dreams. That's another hard one, man. Those are talk about that helped me a lot with when it comes to rejection. So, and I think that really helped me in the fishing game, because in the acting world, you get rejected constantly, like
Mm.
constantly. You get more rejection than you do positive affirmation. So when you get used to getting rejected all the time, you really, really learn how to keep your expectations in check, because then you just get let down all the time and you get burnt out. And I feel like, tournament bass fishing can be the same way. As long as you keep your expectations in check, you can really, be successful in the sense where you're able to manage your emotions and do okay and stay good in a healthy mindset, because as soon as you get destroyed mentally, you're done. Like you just get over it and you're defeated, versus like, well, it wasn't my day today, I'll get them next time, it's fine.
Yeah,
make a
that's
friend
video
or
production,
something.
film industry. That's how it is. So if you can
Really?
live through the film industry, you can get to the elites possibly, as long as you go to the Bassmaster or the Bass Nation TNT Championship.
Yeah.
Let's wrap this podcast up, or this live stream. Let's give it up for all the people that joined us. So I know Yak Local asked, did you start saltwater before you got into bass fishing?
I actually bass fished before I got into saltwater.
Oh, okay.
So, but then I also took a long break from bass fishing and dedicated a lot of my time to salt, whether it was free diving or it was fishing for ulua or deep jigging or short casting or anything like that. So I spent a lot of time doing that, and I took a long break from bass until I moved back. Basically, I would do it off and on. But then once I moved back, or not back, once I moved to California in 2013. It wasn't until 2014 really when I was like, oh dude, I'm in like the bass mecca of like the nation. I can really, catch a big one here. And that's when I fell head over heels in love with bass fishing. And that's when I was like at Kenneth Hahn, like basically every other day. It was an addiction, it still is, but yeah.
I gotta go visit that pond.
Dude, it's a trip, man. You go there, you'll be like, dang, dude, this place is rough. But yeah,
it's called Kenneth Hahn. Like, how do you spell it?
It's Kenneth, Kenneth, Hahn, Hahn. And yeah, it's like right in it's right in Los Angeles, like off of, I think it's off of La Brea.
Is that 8-pounder still alive, or?
God, no.
I think so. No?
A buddy of mine caught a good one there recently. And I think they started stocking. Oh wait, is it trout? Yeah, they started stocking trout again. So yeah, it's a good place, man, to like you'll see wild stuff there. You'll like there's a tree that an osprey always sets up in as soon as they do trout plants, and you'll see that osprey around for a couple months. I've watched osprey like murk trout. I've watched them get bass. I've watched turtles get eaten. I've watched bullfrogs get eaten. I've pitched a frog over a bush and sat there and bounced the frog for literally 5 minutes and smoked a 6.5 pounder. I've done like wild stuff there because like it also
was that during spawn?
No, it wasn't.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, it was. I was trying to figure out like different techniques, and it's kind of fun when you fish like these highly pressured lakes or ponds, is if you can figure out a certain way to present a lure to those fish in a way that they've never seen it. They're like, oh, what? I gotta kill it. And most times on the small ponds and lakes, all those fish or mostly ponds, all those fish are ambushing towards shore, and everyone's casting out into the deep, or everyone's paralleling the shore, but they're not really fishing the cover that's close. So what I would do is and it's funny because now in my head I still have all my casts lined up for Kenneth Hahn of like high percentage or high probabilities points, where like it requires you to skip it underneath a series of bushes, or it requires you to like get it hung up on a certain tule ledge, and then like it dips it into this small little like area that where people aren't normally casting, because most people think like, oh, they're got to be out in the deep. It's like, no, dude, these small little ponds, these fish are keying in on things that are falling in or that are in and around the grass or around the bushes. Like that's how they're getting fed. It's not like someone's coming around and like feeding them out in the middle of the pond. That's where they are, unless like the grass is developed and there's bluegills out there, and that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, it's helped a lot in a different ways. But
nice.
Sorry, go on.
All right, guys, Kenneth Hahn Pond. Everybody,
get out of there. Get off my water, bro. No, I'm just playing. It's a great place to. Yeah, I also like learned how to really skip a frog there. There's these drains, and I would stand on top of this rock that was the same height as a bass boat, and in the middle of the hottest part of the day, I would just I'd skip it in the first one, reel it back in, skip it in the next one, reel it back in, skip it in the third, and then repeat. Skip it in the first one, reel it in. And so doing those repetitions and just doing it just like anyone else, like shooting a free throw or like a slap shot with hockey or any type of drill that you can do as a bass angler. Like that's
Mhm.
one of those good drills. Like flipping into a coffee can, yeah, that's cool. But like if you can get the height of your bass boat, or you can the height of your kayak where you're standing or fishing from, and then learn how to like repetitively skip or repetitively do that, you get the muscle memory down to the point where it's like it's just a second nature thing. And so
Yeah,
that's
you'll take like 5 years off of bass fishing, and you'll go right back there skipping those docks like nothing. It'll take a
yeah.
couple backlashes, but
Oh, for
you'll get
sure.
it. So, what's your favorite California lake to fish? This is by Yak Local Shane.
Oh man, dude, I have so many. I can't say that I have a favorite. I would say Clear Lake is pretty awesome.
Yeah, yeah, for
Clear Lake is
sure.
pretty awesome. I mean, there's like very few fisheries that you can go to, and like your average fish is 3 pounds. Like,
It's crazy.
yeah, you're not gonna catch like a lot of like 1 pounders. Like, and then there's
Yeah.
also during times where you'll go there and you'll just catch fours, or something like that. And then I would say the Delta the Delta is pretty awesome. Folsom's fun. Folsom's a lot of fun. Nacimiento is a lot of fun. Um, Santa Margarita is another place that's like super amazing.
I like
Dude,
how you're going all the way up north, down south.
but then like okay, like for instance, like Pudding Stone. Like he's like, what's your biggest bass on Pudding Stone? I
Yeah.
I think my biggest Pudding Stone bass is only like 5 pounds. Like I don't think I have anything big at Pudding Stone. I caught a 20-pound catfish, or no, a 20-pound carp on a swim bait there. I was fishing with
He like
Oliver.
ate it.
He ate it.
He ate.
Yeah. I caught
No way.
and it's on my YouTube. I caught a 20-pound carp. He ate a Defiant 210,
Wow.
and
Is that
I stuck it in the
is that an
mouth.
8 inch HUD? Is it almost like an 8 inch HUD?
Yeah, I have it right here. It's almost like a HUD, but yeah, it's like a
Okay. Yeah. Rainbow
yeah.
trout pattern.
Yeah, I think it was either the rainbow or it was the kokanee. I honestly I don't think it matters. Um,
The carp
but
must have been angry
well,
to eat.
I think those carp actually. I mean, most people know carp are carnivorous as well. They're scavengers,
Mm,
but like they're gonna eat algae and that kind of stuff. But if the opportunity's there, dude, they'll smoke a jig. I've had
yeah.
them eat jerkbait, dude. In Havasu, I had a carp. I thought I stuck a 10, and I caught another 15-pound carp during tournament day during the AZ Open. It ate my rip bait. It didn't like kind of like swipe at it or something. It ate it. I hooked it in its mouth.
Damn.
So yeah,
Damn.
carp will eat like they'll eat they'll eat a trout. A carp will eat a
Yeah.
crayfish. A carp will eat shad when the opportunity's there.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's kind of funny.
Did you catch any drumfish while you were out there?
Yeah, I did.
Any drums?
Yeah, I
This is a
caught
good
a.
fight, right?
Oh yeah, Kato. I got smoked by a big one on a lipless.
Nice.
Yeah, that was
They're
pretty
awesome
fun.
fish to fight.
Super fun. Yeah, they set up just like bass. Like they ambush
Okay.
and set up just like bass.
I think I think Todd Bell is asking Matty out of California lakes. You have fished in tournaments. Which one was the hardest to fish? The toughest lake to figure out?
Oh man, you know,
Which lake really humbled you?
all of them. I
Took
mean,
you out.
all of them are super humbling. Obviously, they'll all have their own nuances that makes it difficult. I'd say Castaic is definitely like one of those lakes that is hard. That is really hard because you can get on something and you think that you're on a pattern. Next day it's gone. They like drop the water 3 feet and it's gone. Or the same
Do
thing
you
at like
give up
huh?
and then just chase stripers all day?
And then you just go look for boilers and just like screw bass. But yeah, I would say Castaic and Pyramid are one of those fisheries that have helped me so much because of how difficult it is. Like when they chew and it's super fun and like everyone's roping them. But like when it's tough, man, like I've had humbling tournaments at both of those lakes. Like I've gotten humbled bad on Pyramid a couple of times where I thought I was on something special, and then it just like something changed. They dropped the water 3 feet, or like they raised the water, and it's shot. It's tough when these fisheries have a fluctuating water level, because as soon as those fish set up in a certain area, then they drop water out 3 feet or 5 feet or 10 feet, like in 2 days. Like you're like, oh great, well I was catching them off that rock, or like they were setting up on that rock that now is out of the water. Um, I would say those two. I would also say the recent one at Lake Tulloch was a trippy one too, because Lake Tulloch, which is a small little lake, is beautiful, but it's another one of those lakes where you're like, dang, dude, this is tricky, because any other lake, with largemouth in it, I've already had a fish by now, and then you realize that they're only in like a certain part of the lake, and you're like, geez, how is this possible? They're fish, but they just key in on certain areas.
Yeah,
But
exactly. Yeah, for sure.
hopefully that
Yeah,
answered that.
You said Lake Pyramid was one of your toughest lakes to fish?
Yeah, Pyramid, yeah, which is just north of.
That place is humbling. My first time there, I got 2 bites all day. I
Yeah,
never stuck a fish. I skunked.
yeah,
Yeah.
dude. I've skunked at Pyramid. I've skunked at Kestic. I've also caught. Uh, I've caught most of my big fish at Pyramid. I have a
Hmm.
9.2. And I have like one that was, I don't know, an 8 or a 9 on a HUD there. Um, and then Kestic, I don't have. I have a couple 8s out of the lower. That's another good place, but lower is kind of a weird one,
Yeah,
It's
I
just
like hitting up that small pond. Like you said, like you hit up any body of water, you can really learn, because
yeah.
I noticed I can catch fish in like 3 to 6 feet, 3 to 10 feet, and then
Hmm.
I can go clear across towards the riprap on those main lake points on the right
Hmm.
side next to
Hmm.
the no fish zone for bank fishermen, and
Hmm.
I'll be catching them in like 45, 55 feet
Yeah,
deep.
yeah. So there's deep grass out there, and you'll get them on the grass. But yeah, that's another fishery that like is cool, because when I found out about that place helped me too, because I was so used to like fishing. I got really used to fishing the delta, and I missed flipping, and that's one of my favorite
Mhm.
techniques. And so the fact that I was able to like find toolies to flip, or find some like brush and stuff to flip, that really was like, oh my gosh, finally. Because when
Yeah, for sure.
you fish like the highland reservoirs, you don't really flip at all, unless
Yeah,
like a lot of grass develops, which is super rare. And then you
yeah, for
can,
sure.
get on a random flip bite here and there, but that's about
It
it.
really is different fishing like Northern California and Southern California. If you could somehow be successful fishing both Northern and Southern California, I think you have what it takes to get out there, you know?
Dude, it's the best thing that you can do. Bassin Dad, I'll answer this for you. Is
What
advice
advice
for
or tips?
newbie tournament anglers is,
Yeah.
uh, you know, study the bodies of water that you're going to be fishing. Really kind of, if you can get, uh, and kind of like that's what I'm prepping, like literally right now. I mean, I did this before our talk, but this is the whole schedule for the elites next year, and then mixed in with a couple of opens that I'm still debating or not. I have to let them know in a couple of days whether I'm going to do the opens as well. But um, just break down and research every single one as much as you can before you get to the lake. Um, the internet is probably one of the most valuable tools, along with Google Earth is huge. So I would say, don't like control the controllable, and then everything else is up there. So your controllable is your tackle, is your preparation going into it, so all the techniques that you have to learn, and then making sure that your line ties, making sure you have fresh line, making sure that your hooks are sharp. All those variables that you're able to control that are in control, because everything else is up to Mother Nature. So if you can research the lake, research what time of year is it in, what are those fish going to be doing? Who knows? You can think, dude, like Tulloch, I was like, oh, it's going to be a finesse deal. I'm not going to bring my deep crankbait. Like, it's it's going to be, it's going to be finesse. That's going to be flipping docks and maybe swim bait because it's clear. Rip bait is probably going to play a couple different things. I didn't even think about deep cranking, and my non-boater roped him on a deep crank. And I was like, are you serious? I literally picked up my deep crank rod and I stared at it. I'm like, I should probably bring you, but you know what? I'm not going to bring you. And I left it. And I kicked myself in the head because I really wish I had my deep crank rod because I might have had a different outcome at Lake Tulloch.
Was that Toss? Toss that you fished with?
Yeah. Taz, he busted out the deep crank and like whooped my butt. But he's an incredible fisherman and a really good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed all your videos because I get to not only watch and learn from you, but also the people that fish in the back of your boat or fish in front of your boat. So
yeah,
check out his content. Capture Fish at YouTube.
Oh, thanks, guys. Yeah, I think that's I get a lot of enjoyment out of having people on my boat and bringing people out with me, because whenever you get fresh new eyes on a body of water, it gives you like new insight, because you can like get in a way or like in a certain like rut of how you fish something. Like, oh yeah, I go here and I throw a Texas rig. Like, this is because I'm going to get bit here. And that's your confident thing. Someone else can pull up and be like, dude, I'm going to bomb a swim bait over that because that looks super sick for that. Or I'll pull up to it and be like, dude, I'm going to throw a rip bait on it or something. It's just gives you a different, fresh outlook. And with that fresh outlook, it keeps your mind open. And so many people talk about having an open mind when it comes to bass fishing, and especially when it comes to tournament fishing. And it's really true, because as soon as you close your mind off of the different options or different things that you can experiment with, dude, you're done. Like, you can't force the fish to eat anything. And so that's another like bit of advice for a beginner bass fisherman or beginner tournament fisherman. Sorry. There's a big difference there. Is that don't get locked in on what you're going to be doing on the day, because it can change. And as long as you're able to stay flexible, you can kind of, with a good practice, like practice is really important. So anyone who says like, well, I'm not going to practice, I'm just going to show up and blow up, like, no, you're wrong, because practice is really huge. Because then if you can at least dial in water temp, clarity, and all those little small things, and kind of narrow down what you're going to be doing or the tools you're going to be using, it helps tremendously. Yeah, you get lucky, you can just show up and win an event. It happens. People do it. But the guys that normally do really well are dudes that put in a lot of practice and put in times of practice. And typically it doesn't take more than 3 days, because if you're there for longer than 3 days, you get burnt out too. And it gets tiring when you spend the good amount of time that you need to on the water. Like, you do 4 days in a row of a 10-hour day, bro, you're beat. And then on top of that,
it's a different thing. It's a different game. It's like these 1 day tournaments, no big deal. Not even tired. You do those 3 day tournaments, oh my gosh.
Dude,
and you're driving 24 hours.
Yeah. That was really brutal.
I give everybody respect that just drive a day's worth, 2 days worth, make a 3 day trip of fishing, 3 day practice or 1 week of practice, and etc. Yeah. And it's just doing it over and over and over again throughout the whole entire season. That's crazy. You're like your Elite Series season is going to be crazy. Dude, I'm going to give you props.
It's wild, bro. It's like, if I'm looking at this, like, I have 2 back-to-back tournaments in Florida. And then from Florida, I go straight to South Carolina to start practicing for the Classic. And then I go from Hartwell, I go straight to Santee Cooper to start practicing for Santee Cooper. I literally have a week and a half off in between both. And then from South Carolina, I go to Chickamauga in Tennessee. And then Lake Fork is almost a month later. So I'll have a couple down like 2 down weeks, but then there might be an open event that I'm still debating to do in Mississippi. And then Pickwick in Tennessee is after Lake Fork, St. Lawrence River in New York, which is in July, and then Lake Oneida or Oahe, I think is how you pronounce it, in South Dakota in August, and then the Mississippi River in Wisconsin, and then that's the end of the season in August. But then there's two others. There's a Red River and a San Rayburn, Texas in September and October. And I'm still debating whether or not I want to fish the opens. Since one of the other guys that won is turning down his open entries, they're like, well, you can take them if you want, but I'm just like I don't want to get burnt out in my first year on tour, but I also, after talking with Randy Pearson, who, one of the other California guys that was on tour for a couple of years, he's like, dude, I wish that I was able to take advantage and fish some opens, because if you get your entries paid for, like, you still have a chance of like catching a fat check, and then you're also like learning about a new body of water.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's crazy, dude.
I think you could do it. I mean, you said,
I'm ready.
Like you said, like being on the water is so key to success, like in this sport, being on the water. And I know you can't take a whole week off. That's not, I don't think this is me talking to you for the first time in person, on a webcam, but I have a feeling like you off the water for a whole week is kind of like, something's wrong.
Yeah, no, like I got on the water. I fished like Casitas. What was it? What did I fish it? I'm trying to think. I think I fished it on Saturday. Was it Saturday? No, it wasn't Saturday. I was working Saturday. I've been like hustling. I got one day of pre-fish in with my buddy, and I'm gonna pre-fish again on Friday. But it felt weird because I hadn't fished since Louisiana, and then jumping on his boat and like fishing Casitas. I was like, oh, and then like I caught 2 fish all day, and that's all we caught. I was like, oh, I'm back in Louisiana again. Dude, that place was brutal. Brutal.
Did you like cattle though?
Dude, cattle was so sick. Cattle was so sick. How many fish
did you catch?
I caught a limit, but I only fished it for like 2.5 hours.
Did you launch from the drawbridge?
No,
or wait,
I launched from that little, wasn't the rust bucket. I forgot what, like, it was like I forgot the name of the little
landing. Was it in the Louisiana side, or was it on the Texas side?
It was Louisiana side. Side, there was an RV park, and dude, like the ramp was so sketch. Everything was like so sus about the whole thing. I was like, dang, dude. Like,
when you launch your boat and then you're going out, do you see a bridge on the left-hand side?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's where exactly I fished, right there.
Yeah. So and then when you're heading out from the launch, you have the channel, and then on the right-hand side, there's like it almost seems like an island of cypress trees in a way. Yeah.
Copy.
Yeah. So I caught one good one off that island of cypress trees, and then I went underneath the bridge, and then there's those 4 docks. There's like 4 or 5 docks that are in like kind of deeper water. There's like these. There's like and the docks are all messed up. They don't like attach to land, but you can tell that there were a series of docks, and that's where I caught my first. I caught like a 4-pounder on the spinnerbait off of that, and I was like, ooh.
They're big over there. They chew hard over there.
Dude, I got smoked. I was like, oh my gosh, like Dominic was kidding. Oh. Yeah, it was.
There's big ones there. There's huge ones over there.
Yeah, I didn't
get kind of low key miss it.
Yeah, no, dude. I mean, it's so fun when you get to fish like just new stuff, Like, that's the thing that I'm most excited about, is just that I get to go to like new bodies of water, and just do something new. So get to go to new places and fish different places and catch new.
Sunsets are always different everywhere. The mornings and the sunsets are all different.
Dude, serious.
All the lakes.
Yeah. Temperature of the sunset, colors of sunset changes wherever you are. So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. All right, it's 4:26 p.m. Thank you, Matty, for joining my first podcast, or my first live stream on my YouTube. I keep on saying podcast. I don't know if I'm going to get into podcast, but this is fun. Like,
yeah, dude, I had fun hanging out and talking, dude, for sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me on. I know everyone starts on a certain level. We were all there, and so I want to be able to give you an opportunity, the same opportunity that I give like Cast and Crank. It's like I think everyone, you have to start somewhere. And the fact that, I see you grinding and doing your thing, dude, is like, bro, like you're doing just like what I did. You're doing what just everyone else is doing. So like grinding and starting somewhere, you got to start somewhere, man. And it's good. So
Yeah.
that's why I wanted to come on and support you, and also, answer whatever questions. And yeah, it was a good time.
Text me when you're like final day, you qualified for the final day of any of the Elite Series. I will fly down. I will fly down. I
Easy,
will
bro.
get
I'll
drone
hold
footage
you to
for you.
that. Watch out, dude. Watch
I'm gonna
out.
fly down. I'm gonna drive, and then because it's Texas, you have Lake Fork, right?
I have Lake Fork, Texas in May.
If I don't have a tournament uh, in May on those dates, I'm gonna fly down, get some drone footage of you, get your launch, get some vlog stuff for you,
Oh, dude, that'd be
and
sick.
promote you.
Dude, that'd be
Dude, I
super
would
sick.
love that, man.
Yeah, like whatever days that if you're free to cam operate, that'd be huge, man. Yeah, because I'm gonna try and keep doing the YouTube thing while I'm on the road. So yeah, anyone who
Please
has
do.
so yeah, capture fish, be sick.
You're gonna kill it because I follow Jacob Wheeler, I follow Mark Daniels Jr.,
Hmm.
several others, DC,
Hmm.
but then they don't have a film background and a SAG background.
I love those guys, man. They're cool, but like,
Yeah,
yeah, like yeah. I think you can tell whoever does do their edits like knows what they're doing, but when it comes to like
yeah,
what they're shooting and stuff like that, I'm just like, oh, it's like, and the only reason why I say it's like for me, I'm like, oh, because it's like that was my industry for so long, like that was my profession
yeah,
for so long, so having that background and seeing certain content, I'm just like, oh, my heart. But yeah, everyone has their own thing, and I don't knock anyone as long as they're passionate
yeah.
in it and they're doing it, dude. Power to you. So,
Chris Zaldane's channel, though, man, he doesn't upload a lot of content, but then the content that he has is like very
dude,
similar.
Johnny's super good, man. Johnny's like legit.
Yeah.
He's also a really good bass fisherman too. So, yeah, I don't know if he's gonna be with with Zaldane again next year, but yeah, I think he's gonna try and do some opens. I'm not sure, but yeah.
Is he union or is he
No, he's not union. I think he's just a freelance guy. I think
freelance?
he was a construction worker, but who has like a passion for film, and he's done really well in the
Yeah,
film
that's damn
stuff.
good.
Like the stuff's really good. So
Yeah.
yeah, dude.
Sweet. Well, thanks a lot. Go follow, go subscribe, Capture Fish. I don't know, your personal IG. I've noticed that you kind of went over to Matty Wong too on your
Yeah,
personal IG.
yeah, because I think realistically, I need to brand my name than Capture Fish when
Okay.
I'm on tour. No one's gonna be like, "Who's Capture Fish? And why are they posting Matty
Okay.
Wong stuff?" And so
Yeah.
the reason why I started Capture Fish was a content suite, basically, to be able to produce
Okay.
high level imagery for fishing brands. And so I kind of want to get it back to that, where through Capture Fish, I'm able to produce high level imagery for businesses. And then that's just is going to coincide with my YouTube vlogging stuff that will kind of like help
Right.
funnel some of those eyes into that. But besides that, I do have mattywongfishing.com, Matty_Wong on Instagram, which is my personal page. And I'm going to try, especially on tour, be more active on that, because it has a bit more following on it. And, it's just trying to like be able to like leverage both. But yeah, it's the whole Instagram or the whole social media thing is such a funny anomaly, but it is what it
Yeah.
is these days. But yeah,
So subscribe to Capture Fish on Instagram and YouTube, and subscribe or follow him at Matty_Wong on Instagram as well. That's just going to be his Elite Series Pro Instagram. But like, yeah, like thanks for everybody tuning in to this episode. Please give, a hand clap emoji to Matty Wong and
oh
support
man,
him through his first year of Elite Series Pro. He'll need it because, like I honestly love it when people are supporting me in this small community, and gets me pumped up and makes
Mhm.
me work a lot harder to represent California, and especially for Matty Wong representing California. That's a big deal. Like, I don't know who's the last person that qualified from California, but
Randy
it's
Pearson.
huge.
Yeah, I'm pretty
any
stoked,
person?
man. Yeah, I'm really stoked to be able to represent California and represent Hawaii and because I feel like this place is really my home now. So it's yeah, it's cool. I'm really excited and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait.
Yeah, for sure.
Can't wait.
I'm gonna be driving. I'm on my way to Texas right now.
Cool. Right on, guys. Well,
All right,
thanks again,
Maddie.
and we'll talk to you soon.
Yep.
All
Talk
right,
to you
guys.
soon. See you later.
See
Peace.
ya.